welcome to Masters of Divinity. I'm your moderator, JP, and I'm here with the gang. I'm here with Father Chuck.
Aloha.
Okay. And I am here also with the occasional Matt.
What do you say from South Florida after the Hawaiian goes?
You just
aloha?
Drink bleach is what you do.
You go.
No, you gotta. I don't know. What does Pitbull say? I don't know, Mr. Worldwide.
Dolly. I don't know. You crush a White Claw. That's what you do.
Yeah, we don't. Next time we don't start with the now official Hawaiian. Aloha. Okay, thank you. Hi.
Should I just say yeehaw
For the record,
at the top of my
head? I am not a Hawaiian. That's a race. I'm a haole that lives in Hawaii.
Yeah, I know.
You're getting really into the culture, man. It's quick. It's good. That's good. That's a good thing. I mean, that's a good thing. It's good.
Look, the way I look at it is that people who look like me have spent a long time coming to this island telling everybody what they should and should not be doing, and I'm actually watching a lot of what like tourists and stuff do here when they come, and because we've actually started seeing a bit of a tourist upswing, and not everybody's following quarantine, and I gotta say, like, what bugs me that people use this place as like it's nothing more than a backdrop for a bunch of Instagram photos, right? Like the idea that you're not going to come here and actually try to like engage and learn with it on its own terms. It's just another like, oh, I'm here to walk this trail, and I don't care if it's closed. I'm just going to hop the rail and do it anyway because I paid all this money to come here, and therefore I'm entitled to it. And that's sort of been the story of Hawaii ever since white people discovered it. And so I'm interested in learning about it, and
this has been Hawaiian Corner with Father Chuck. We're gonna just devote like 5 minutes to you every episode. You can talk about Hawaii. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
we need segments.
And then put a ban on it for the other 95% of the episode. Only because you make me feel bad, not because I don't like it.
Was that a Hydro Flask I saw?
It is a Takea.
Oh, okay.
Which is from Target. It is also, say it with me, Japanese.
All right, we should talk about the album
really quick. I have to say one thing.
Okay.
That you guys will appreciate.
This is Japanese Corner with Father Chuck.
It's Weeb Corner.
The Weeb Corner.
So, listen. Matt in particular will appreciate this, I think. So my Monday consisted of surfing at Number Threes, which is a surf spot that was featured in The Endless Summer.
Nice.
And eating legit good ramen from the mall at the Ala Moana Center. And so the fact that from like a legit actual Japanese ramen restaurant. So like I can't be more like, you know what I mean? Like
your time has come. You've arrived, Chuck.
It's kind of. Did I share with you guys when I went to the Japanese grocery store and I was like actually overwhelmed?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. a picture even. Yeah, we got it twice. But go ahead and carry on.
I'm not going to let you make me feel bad that I'm blessed to live in Hawaii.
Oh no. I'm going to continue to let me feel bad that I don't. So go ahead.
You live in South Florida. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
If the people weren't here, it would be amazing.
It's hot though.
Chuck's all like, by the way, now I'm in Hawaii where the water is clearer. There's things called like mountains and stuff that you don't have. And the people are actually decent human beings who don't completely suck. So
and you actually get breezes, like just
Yeah,
this
great.
is like a wet blanket.
I mean, I have no air conditioning on in my office right now, just the desk fan.
Oh, okay. All right. So we should probably start talking about the album.
No, I don't think we should talk anymore. I think we're done talking for pretty much forever. I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna say goodbye.
Yeah. All right. So we're still in Music Mayhem, and we're all fine. I'm fine. Are you fine? Is everyone fine? We're fine, right? Everyone's okay. We're okay. We're fine. We're all okay. We're all okay. We're gonna do okay. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. Father Fun isn't here. He'll be with us next week. So last week, Occasional Matt chose Thriller by Michael Jackson. And we've all listened to it and we're ready to go. Matt, buddy, why did you choose Michael Jackson? Matt, you actually chose a good album, at least with some good songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Best-selling album of all time.
Yeah. So let's dig, baby. Why did you choose Thriller by Michael Jackson? And just give us some background on with this album. Then we'll roll into general thoughts.
All right. So why did I choose this album? General thoughts. Blah blah blah. I will also tell you there's like 3 ways I would talk about this album. So as the moderator, JP is going to get stuck trying to decide if he wants to do any of these 3, throw out all of these 3 or whatever, but he's not allowed to cut this out. There's going to be 3 ways.
Okay.
Because I will say this, I will start with, fast forward with me years ago to this little kid who's hanging out at home, and I don't remember exactly how old I was. My guess would have to be 8 or 9. And I turn on the TV. It's October. I turn on the TV, and this music video comes on, and it changes everything. It's this music video called Thriller that when I turn on the TV, it's the first time I got to watch it. I hit play. It started playing. I watched this thing. So then I'm like, who is that? What is this song? This video is amazing. So then I looked up some more stuff, caught a couple concerts here and there. And then that Sunday, went to church in my white suit with one white glove on and a hat because that was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. So my reason for picking this starts there. I will say that it was at the time, and it's very dated, but at the time was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. It was the most, it just felt grown up to watch it. Like it didn't feel like kid. It didn't feel inappropriate. I don't mean grown up like, oh, this is a adult movie. No, I just meant it felt grown up. Like this was
mature,
not kids. This wasn't kids music. This was real music. When I saw Michael Jackson for the first time, and when I saw the Thriller video for the first time, and everything was just like. So, this album I picked because of that. Specifically because of even the song that the title, the whole album is titled after, the song itself alone, but then also the specific album has the fun little touch, even though the song itself I'm not a big fan of, but has this fun little touch of this year we were doing favorite bands. So what's your favorite band and what's the album or whatever that you would say is like, this is how I want people to get into it. And I told JP, well, I already picked my favorite band. It was the Beatles, and I already picked the album I would have chosen, and that was Let It Be Naked. I was like, so I don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, light went off, and a little help from our number 1 fan, who is out there listening now, and who likes me better than Father Chuck, and that's all that matters. But our number 1 fan, who, in case you're a first-time listener or not paying attention, is Chuck's mother. Who knows I'm cooler than him. She said, I was hoping you would have picked Michael Jackson or the Beatles. And I was like, oh my gosh, my album is simple because my favorite all-time ever is the Beatles, but we talked about them, it's played out, and I realized talking about them is like, whatever, who's going to argue about the Beatles? And if you do, you're like the bottom 5% just arguing to argue. I don't mean you have to like them, I just mean their influence. You're just arguing to create a scene and be the anti-whatever. So I was like, I've got a Michael Jackson album, the number 2 pick with one of my all-time favorite songs on it for several reasons, and who I used to think was the height of cool. And not only that, but this album features a song that has a special guest singing with him, and it is Paul McCartney, one of the Beatles. And I was like, nailed it. This is my album. And what I will leave you with, there's my reason why, here's my final thoughts, and the 3 ways I would talk about this. And again, the moderator gets to choose any of this or none of this. But I would talk about it as the art, because I loved this, I was influenced by this, and I have a lot to say about the whole thing in general. Number 2, you can talk about the person. That is a difficult, hard road that I don't know if I want to go down ever, much less now. And then number 3 becomes the debate of how do you separate the two? Do you separate the two? And is that ever okay? And I mean, this is years and years of conversation, but I do feel like if I'm going to bring up Michael Jackson, I have to address the fact that we at least have to address that those concerns are there. His music, what he did, what he created, what we all know, what we all found out happened, what he was, and how do you deal with that now? So just putting that out there, what you address, how you address it, cool. But I have to bring attention to that, since I am the one who brought Michael Jackson into our podcast, and I can't pretend like there's not a lot of horrible stuff to address and talk about if you wanted to get into him as a human being and as what he's been accused of and what has happened. So that's all I'm going to say. But pick the album because he was the height of cool. I had the hat, the white suit, the one glove on. The video changed my life. The music video Thriller changed my life. And that's why. And it has a Beatle on it. So it's just all things rolled into one. I mean, what other album would I pick?
Yeah. So what do you think about the album? If you can just give your quick thoughts about the album itself. Listening to it again, how did it make you feel?
To me, the album is now, listening to it now, I would describe it as the album is a fun party.
Yeah.
But that's the attention I give it. Now the album is always, if you're like, I want to run around the room and jump up and down and dance, you can hit play on this album and you're pretty much set from beginning to end. Like, you can goof around to it, you can sing along with it, you can act like a fool, you can dance to it. It's a fun time. Yeah, I would describe it as a fun time.
Perfect 8th grade slow dance songs too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you get to be a total goofball and then totally do like a little one of these,
Yeah.
and you're perfectly ready for the slow dance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I would say the album now is, to me, in today's context, the music and the album, the words, all that stuff is it's just a fun time. That's all it is. I've got nothing deeper to it. It's just a fun time. I hit play, I enjoy it, it's over with, and I move on with life. And
Cool.
then when I hit play again, I enjoy it every time. So that's what it is now.
All right. Father Chuck, what are your thoughts on Thriller?
So, Michael Jackson has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. This is why my mom brought up Michael in that post. I shared with you last week, or last time, I shared with you the photo of me from like 3 years old Halloween dressed as Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And in a way that's not going to get me in trouble because there is no blackface involved. It's just, the wig, the jacket, the glove.
You didn't really have to when we were kids anyway, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
So my mom, it's the first, Beat It is the first song that I ever danced to. It was the first music video that I can remember ever seeing. Somewhere it's still boxed up. I have the 8-track of Thriller. I keep it on my shelf.
Sweet.
Because it's the one that played in my mom's car as I was a kid growing up. I mean, so this album is intertwined with my understanding of myself. I mean, it's just always been there. It was honestly one of the only albums. It was it's the first album we've ever picked where I I listened to the whole thing last night, but I realized I probably didn't need to listen to it to talk about it.
I kind of feel the same way too.
Other than like the what is it Lady in My Life and what Baby Be Mine,
Yeah,
like
the
those
ballads.
those two, like I just never really paid much attention to before this. But I here's what I'll say too. I mean, it's so hard to talk about this without talking about Michael.
Yeah.
And I will say about it is I'm not entirely convinced that like he's guilty of all the stuff he's been accused of. But I also believe that he is a profoundly damaged individual, a victim of severe abuse, a victim of unbelievable loneliness, and a human who had an entire childhood robbed of him, that manifested, I think, in ways that made him behave very inappropriately. And, like, I think the question of whether or not it's criminal behavior, I think, is the big debate. I don't think there's any question that Michael Jackson had some serious boundary issues with children. And I know, like, it's one of these things you try to dance around, and it's tough to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think listening to the album this time around, that sense of loneliness that comes from Michael Jackson, I noticed it a lot more. He sings about stuff from a distance, right? Human Nature. I love the song Human Nature. And in Human Nature, it depicts this whole idea that he's looking out the window at a city. He wants to participate in it, but he doesn't, right? It's all about wanting. So all of his music kind of carries this quality of like, it doesn't sound like the words and things of someone who actually lives this stuff. It sounds like the words and thoughts of an observer. And I mean, I know he didn't necessarily write all the lyrics, and that there's a lot of people involved in the composition of this stuff, but there's just this kind of general feeling in almost everything of his music that like when he sings a romantic song, it doesn't sound like it's actually his voice. Yeah. And I don't mean that in the sense of like the audible voice, but like the voice in like the artistic sense, right? He is performing someone else's music in that regard. Like it's just hard to take it seriously at times when he's saying like "Baby Be Mine." Like I don't know. It's just, of course, I've got we've got the Michael Jackson of the tabloids, in our minds as we listen to this stuff now. So it's hard to hear what it sounded like in 1982 when it first came out. But Michael Jackson, even listening to Thriller sounds like a record like it has no peer and it almost has no precedent. Like it does, like everybody talks about music as a conversation. Thriller does not sound like it's part of a conversation. It sounds like it's its own complete thing. I mean, it just sort of manifested on its own. It's just this crazy kind of like isomorphic thing that just sort of appeared one day. And because of that, it is the greatest album the best-selling album of all time. In terms of what it accomplished historically, I think is something that probably doesn't get enough credit. In that, I think here I'll share this story. So when I saw Undercover Brother in theaters way back when it first came out, right? Great soundtrack to Undercover Brother. A lot of soul music in it, but I'll never forget that the climactic fight between Undercover Brother and Chris Kattan's character is set to Beat It. And I remember it sort of took me out of the movie for a second when I heard Beat It, because it dawned on me while watching the movie that I'd probably spent so much of my life not thinking of Beat It as black music. I didn't think of Thriller as black music. I mention that because there was a fight with CBS, who owned the record company, that Epic Records. They owned it. There was a fight between them and MTV about getting Billie Jean as a music video on MTV, because MTV said like, we don't play black videos, like it's not, we're a rock station or whatever. And it took them saying, well, if you don't air this, then we're not going to let any of our other artists have music videos on your channel. And so MTV had to relent. And so Thriller was responsible for getting black artists on MTV, which dramatically changed MTV over time. And so there's something to the fact that Thriller is responsible for breaking certain segments of black music and black culture into the mainstream that would not have otherwise happened. Because I mean, just think about a little bit like what black culture was like in the mid 70s to early 80s, right? It was very niche. You know, black music. What, you know, there was sort of like a black alternative for a lot of stuff on TV, right? Because you only had like the big four broadcasting stations, so you didn't have like a UPN or a BET or anything like that.
You had Soul Train.
Right, but like Soul Train, right? You had the Cosby Kids show, right? You had the Jeffersons. You had oh come on, Red Fox's show, Sanford and Son.
Yeah, Sanford and Son.
You know, so you had and in a lot of ways, black people were depicted on television as poor or like they had like just suddenly come into money, right? Like the Jeffersons. And then when it came to music was like there was music and then there was black music. And black music was like soul and R&B. It was Motown, right? Now, obviously, black music had been around since the beginning of the country. Arguably, the first American styles of music, or the first style of music that it was like conceived of on the North American continent as distinctly American is black music. But here you go. Historically, is this the thing where white artists have taken black music and popularized, right? So like Elvis takes black music and popularizes it for a white audience, and it's such a big deal. Well, you know, you get to 1982, 83, Motown 25 years later or whatever, they have Michael Jackson on stage doing the moonwalk to Billie Jean. And it's a moment that is just as transformative as Elvis shaking his hips. But the difference being, here is a black man breaking black music and black dancing on a popular stage. And like I think in a lot of ways, white America did not really appreciate how radical that was at the time. Or maybe we did, or like in our generation just sort of forgot it because, you know, we got used to this tabloid figure, Michael Jackson, that we sort of divorced from being a black man. But what this represented for musical and popular culture in terms of like race is like massive. I mean, it really is something that the greatest selling album of all time was produced by a black man. So that's also in the background about it for me when I'm listening to it this time around. And you know, which is funny because here we are talking about these sort of bigger issues. At least I'm talking about these bigger issues as I ramble on, and not really focusing on the music itself, which, like as Matt said, like it's a party, right?
Yeah.
You know, I can get into we'll get into the specifics, I know, a little bit more, but yeah, like there's no lyrics in it that I'm like sitting there being like, oh, that's profound. Right? Like and I think maybe that probably is why it's so popular, because the lyricism in it is kind of so general that anyone can accept it, and it's not confrontational. There's nothing controversial about it in what it presents. I mean, the fact, Matt, that you as a Baptist kid could see that video and then go to church the next day in a white suit, white hat with a glove on your hand, and the Baptist not run you out the door or your parents be bothered by that, kind of shows.
I will say, although I agree with you, so I don't want to undermine your point, I will say I did not say it was okay that I did it. I'm just saying I went there wearing it. That's all I'm going to say. I'll let you decide who and all that thing. But yeah, no, not everybody thought that Michael Jackson was somebody I should be emulating. But but I agree with you in general and in a broader sense. Even the people who caused a problem about it, they didn't really care in the same way that you would if it was a more controversial topic. So I'm agreeing with you in the sense that even at a Baptist church, the pushback for the kid who shows up dressed like Michael Jackson was next to nothing. It was just kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's who you should dress like. And that was like the end of it, as opposed to if I came and dressed like another artist that they didn't approve of, it would have been the end of the world. So,
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, I'm still agreeing with you. I just have to say, no, I can't let it go that everybody was okay with it. But carry on.
But I will say, just lastly, JP, that Thriller and Beat It are like, it's kind of amazing that the album doesn't open with Thriller.
Yeah.
Because once that keyboard hits in Thriller, like, it's massive. And you get through 3 songs. I mean, you get through friggin' the Paul McCartney song.
I agree, and I picked it.
Like, this is what we're. And then you hit Thriller, and you're like, okay, where was this all along? It comes from another planet. And then Beat It is like, how do you categorize Beat It? It's not a rock song.
Yeah.
It's not, because you really typically can't dance to rock. So it's not a rock song. It's not really a disco song. It is its own animal, and it is perfect and amazing, and it doesn't make any sense lyrically, but who cares? Because Eddie Van Halen's solo, which Michael Jackson introduced Eddie Van Halen to the world with this song.
Yeah.
It's just,
and then also Toto, who helped out
right.
with some of the compositioning too.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Eddie Van Halen, Toto, and Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson working on the same song. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, and so like just off the strength of Thriller and Beat It, this thing is. I mean, like, where does it come from? I mean, seriously, like it sort of feels like if you go now and like listen to you listen to B-52's first record, and you're like, oh, it's B-52's, but then you realize that they recorded that in the late 70s in Athens, Georgia, and you're like, where are you coming from?
Yeah. Because
like that doesn't make any sense. That much less you're doing it in the 70s, but you're doing this in Georgia of all places, right? I mean. And so, you have these things that happen, and during this time period, late 70s, early 80s, where you have this music coming out, and it just seems like it has no precedent. It just manifests.
Yeah, it's not like Nirvana that's like synthesizing a bunch of other genres,
Right.
Yeah. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, which is like I can't even like listening to Beat It. I'm just trying to think like, apparently Michael Jackson like orated the sounds into a tape recorder.
Yeah, I read about that.
That was the writing process. Like, yeah. And like you've got like Prince running around doing similar kinds of things. Like these minds that are just making these sounds that are just unlike anything that were like really on the radio at the time. It's just it's really an amazing thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Well, as far as I go, I too was a very big fan of Michael Jackson when I was a child. Probably the first musician I was kind of introduced to, I think. My sisters were like enormous fans, like back in the 80s and stuff, and they had the Thriller VHS tape, which was the music video in its entirety from beginning to end, plus the making of the music video. And I would just like my little 4-year-old self would just saunter over to the stack of VHS tapes, and I would just grab it and put it in and watch it. And just imagine this little kid in this little playroom watching these zombies, and like, and then also just not turn it off at all, because I wanted to watch the making of it too, and just watching like Rick Baker, put this plaster on Michael Jackson's face, and I actually remember being more scared of them creating the makeup than the actual makeup, than the actual zombies. Because there's something about the making of it. Back then, making documentaries weren't like the ones today. They're like overproduced, all this music, very glossy, talking heads. This was like cinema verite style, meaning like there's just a dude with a 35mm camera, or maybe 16mm camera, just shooting everything around him happening, with no commentary, just what's happening. You had to put the pieces together yourself. And for like a little child to watch that was like, it was kind of scary in a way, seeing these things come to life.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. Do you think that experience is what made you both a fan of horror and a fan of filmmaking?
Absolutely.
Probably.
But I have to comment on that one because that's something I was planning on saying already. is I would say that the Thriller music video is the first quote unquote horror movie I was a fan of.
Yeah.
Even though it was actually just a music video, it was the first time because you catch glimpses as a kid. You're walking through the house and you catch a glimpse of a horror movie you're not supposed to see. I wish I could wipe out the 7-year-old view of seeing that one scene from The Exorcist, but I can't. Even though I've seen it later and the movie's not as bad as I remembered it, that one scene is horrifying because of I saw it when I was 7. But the first time I saw something that was genuinely scary, creeped me out, but I loved every second of it was the time I turned on the TV and happened to catch the beginning of the Thriller music video and watched it all the way through. So yes, absolutely, Chuck. You touched on something I planned on bringing up is I'm a huge fan of horror movies. I'm a huge fan of reading stuff like Stephen King. Chuck and JP make fun of me all the time because I go to sleep at night reading It, and people are like, who the crap reads It to go to sleep? Which finally, 3.5 years later, I finished a book. Total different episode someday. But I go to sleep at night reading Stephen King. All of that comes from, I can specifically remember the first time I saw something that scared me to death and I loved it and thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen was Michael Jackson, zombies chasing him, amazing dancing, and then he's a werewolf at the end, and it's awesome. Loved it.
More of a were
100%
cat,
yes.
but
Were-cat, were-it. Yeah, I don't. Nobody knows what it was animal-wise, but werewolf is what they were playing off of. Whatever he became, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a genuinely creepy video, but so cool. You loved it, even though it was scaring you, and that was like the first time that I realized, oh my gosh, being scared can be a blast and cool. And it really was my introduction into even horror movies. So
yeah, well, I don't know if it was the catalyst because my childhood is sort of riddled with those moments of like peeping, Poltergeist and Nightmare on Elm Street, and but definitely the making of it was something that was like I really latched onto. I know, like, yeah, I definitely think it probably has something to do with it. And if you watch it, it's actually, I recommend watching it. It's pretty cool because they have like full shots of actually executing the special effects in the middle of a shot, and you get to see them working the bladders and stuff and the masks. It's cool. So there's that, and then kind of getting older. We didn't really grow up. I mean, I guess we did. I think Dangerous came out. I don't remember. But like there was a time when he wasn't releasing anything new when we were kids. And then like there was this announcement that the new Michael Jackson song is coming out and it's coming on after The Simpsons. And I remember just counting down the days to the Simpsons episode, which happened to star Michael Jackson, a homeless guy who thought he was Michael Jackson. And then afterwards, that's when Black and White came on, and that started kind of the new trajectory that he had gone down in the 90s. And that's also when I think a few years later that's when History came out, right?
Yes, that was I remember buying History.
Yeah, my parents got that for me for my birthday. It was a cassette. It was a 2-pack cassette. It was
you got the side, the CD, yeah.
And one side was like all the hits, and the other side was all the new stuff. I didn't like the new stuff. I just liked all the hits.
Oh, really? I love that. I love that new stuff. I love a Scream. Oh,
Scream,
man.
I liked Scream. I actually think I still like Scream. But some of the other stuff was just kind of like beyond me. Like, it got a little personal there. I think was that also another Have You Seen My Childhood? Was that on there?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's a weird song. Anyway, so no, I was always a big fan of him. My mom hated that I liked him. There is a recording out there of my mom yelling at me for recording Smooth Criminal. I used to love the movie Moonwalker.
Yeah, dude.
They used to show that periodically on MTV with Joe Pesci. That's where Smooth Criminal came from. So yeah, I loved Michael Jackson when I was a kid. Totally. Still kind of do like his music a lot. As far as, oh boy, I watched the documentary, all 4 hours. I kind of wish I hadn't. I don't know. I don't know if he did all the stuff that's he's being accused of. I don't know how to determine if he did or not. I know that I think daily, literally daily, about the conversations of, do you partake in the art of somebody who is deemed problematic, or who was abusive, or is just a bad person, or even if they're in question, do you watch it? And my answer to that is always, do whatever you want. Just be prepared to accept the consequences of it. It's up to you as an individual, and some people are going to be affected by it. I know there's people in my life who are, affected by sexual abuse and stuff, and it hurts them when I say, like, oh, I like this person, or I like this piece of art that happened to be made by this person who may have been participant as something, and all you can really do is just be like, I hear you, I understand it. I'm definitely not excusing them, but I also, like, I can't unlike something. Like, there is someone I follow that talked about, like, you can only go so far with, like, criticizing something. That doesn't mean you can make yourself stop liking it. I listen to Thriller, and there are songs that I like, and I just can't really help it. So I don't know what to do in regards to Michael Jackson. I don't have the answer. All I know is that if there are victims who are affected by it, I am 100% going to listen to you and do my best to help you. So that's my opinion on that. I'm not gonna get into the whole, like, separate the art from the artist, because I don't know how possible that is. Sometimes it's like R. Kelly. He wrote a song called so, like, there's an Aaliyah song called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, and then it was found out that he was, like, R. Kelly was in a relationship with Aaliyah when she was, like, 15 years old, and that he actually he was the one that wrote that song for her to perform. Like, that kind of stuff, like, that's pretty overt. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to that. Like, we could burn those. We can burn those. But then it's like, this person's actions isn't reflected in the work that I'm enjoying here, so it's like, it's a bit difficult. I don't really know what to do. And if I'm just,
well, I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I think in the case of someone like Michael Jackson, because so much of his music was sort of a collaborative progress, especially this album.
Yeah,
was such a collaborative process, and that, like, as I said, like, I don't think Michael Jackson knew how to be like a person, because his whole life had been spent on stage. I mean, I just, when I look at Michael Jackson over the years, and I see someone who, like, he just didn't seem to ever have, like, a real human connection, right? Like,
yeah,
he got validation, he sought validation from his fans, and he had people who worked for him that were, like, yes people and enabled him. But in the interview that he did in '93 with Oprah Winfrey, where he was just, like, talking about how profoundly lonely he is, like, I think that just never really stopped for him. And so what he's performing what he thinks, like, so I think, like, it's already in itself separated from him in terms of the music, and particularly with Thriller. Like, you're not getting Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
You're getting this performer
and there's also,
that we know of.
What's the guy's name? Rod Temperton's the guy who wrote it.
Yeah. You're getting a performer in a lot of ways. I mean, he had a hand in it, obviously. I just think it's a little bit different when you're engaging with somebody who's performing a piece of music. Like if Andre Bocelli turned out to be, like, a bastard, would that mean that, like, any piece of, like, opera that he ever performed now you can't listen to?
Yeah.
Right? No, I mean, you probably listen to someone else's performance of that piece of opera, not necessarily him himself, right? So I think you already have, like, there's already a kind of separation thing out there. It's just, yeah, I mean, It's tough.
Well,
It's
well,
tough, and I get it, but
yeah, and I definitely think that, and that's what this album stands out to me as, and why I love it so much, despite everything else, is there's very few artists, very few creative people, very few performers, whichever word you want to choose for them. There's very few of them that cross into this level of being almost genuinely otherworldly, in
mhm.
the sense that it's like what they're doing, how they're doing it. It's literally, I've never seen anything like this before. And everything changes from that moment on. I would suggest that that's a Michael Jackson. I would suggest that that's a Prince. I would suggest that that's possibly Lady Gaga back before like Star is Born. Anyway, but like a Lady Gaga, it's they perform something and the world goes, "What is this? We don't like this. What's attractive about it? Why am I into this? Why is this so amazing? How did they do this? Why can't we all create something that's incredible?" And everything shifts. Like they come into the scene, they catch everybody off guard, they throw culture and everything for a loop to where they're like, we don't even know how to handle this. And before the end of it, everybody's going, how can we get a tiny piece of what they're doing? And Michael Jackson, I think, was profoundly, like you said, profoundly lonely. You hear his backstory and what he is or is not guilty of doing. We're not going to get into that here, but what I can say is, regardless, the fact that he's accused of all this stuff and things, but if you look at just his story, his backstory is incredibly depressing. His upbringing, the abuse he faced, and he managed to become this literal, almost this literal figure that like didn't fit into our planet, to the point where like Father Chuck touched on, this is the album where he's performing on a stage and he's performing one of the songs from this album, Billie Jean, and he spins around, does his little spin around kicking stuff he's constantly doing, and all of a sudden he starts sliding backwards and the world changes forever. And it was the moonwalk, where everybody's like, what the crap just happened? This guy literally, it looked like he literally left the ground and was floating across the floor. And the world changed from that moment on. Dance changed, the hip hop dance style, I mean, it picked up on, I mean, I'm sure he got his influence from other people, but that was the public moment that changed everything, was the time he spun around on a stage and started gliding backwards across it. And the whole world went, what the heck did we just see? Just like music videos changed forever, in my opinion, after Thriller. I mean, you get these, music videos, yay, fun images to go along with song, and then Thriller comes out and it's like, crap, no, short film, and I'll have a song in the middle of it. And it was almost like watching Night of the Living Dead, the musical. There's what it reminds me of, and it ends with Wolfman, except he's, like we said, we're not sure he's a wolf, a cat, whatever. But yeah, it's just he was almost literally outside of our world, to a point where the whole world was wanting to catch up with him artistically, and the whole world can accept it, and it's kind of timeless because it didn't feel like it fit here in the first place. Yeah. So you listen to this album now, it's not as dated as others because it didn't feel like it fit that. So
right.
Yeah. So my thoughts on the album itself. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I like I liked Thriller. I like Beat It. I like Billie Jean. The rest I honestly could really do without. I don't know. Want to be starting something. I think it's still playing. In fact, is that why Father Fun couldn't join us? He's not down listening to Want to Be Starting Something.
Yeah,
that's a long song.
You want to be starting something, like can you start the song?
Yeah. And that the Paul McCartney song, "The Girl Is Mine." Once, I don't know how Paul McCartney managed to be involved in two songs that I hate that get stuck in my head for days, which is this and his Christmas song.
Oh, Wonderful Christmas Time.
Yeah, try getting them both stuck in your head at the same time. That's But yeah, Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean. Oh, I could listen to them all day. Are you kidding me? Also, I think I like the music video version of Thriller more than the audio version. That's just I like the refraining from the chorus in the music video. Like he had to go through the whole. He's just going through each verse, and then the dance, and then the chorus. I like that. That's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really blown away by the album itself, and I looked up some criticism and stuff, and I guess people were kind of keying into what he was doing, which is apparently like his album before this was Off the Wall, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Off the Wall,
Rock with You, great song.
Yeah. So Off the Wall, it's a good album, but people still thought it was still kind of very boyish. A lot of ballads, like like this one. But this one was like, oh, okay, he's trying to prove to us something, and he's being aggressive about it. He's being like this. I think this kind of established him as like having that attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk like Beat It. He's he's really singing those songs with a lot of attitude, and yeah. So, but yeah, want to be starting something, which is long and repetitive, and I don't like it. Apparently that's supposed to be something like he wrote about the media and like the tabloids and stuff, and like he wants to fight them. Like this is you imagine Michael wants to fight, which is like kind of like a new image for him, and he kind of held on to the sort of edginess as like as a piece of who he was that you saw in like other. I think his next one was Dangerous, right?
No, Bad.
Oh, I thought Bad was on Dangerous. Oh, okay, I don't know my discography. Okay, see,
Dangerous,
but yeah.
Yeah,
It was bad.
Bad had,
It just sounds like we're yelling out adjectives for horrible things. Horrible, awful.
Yeah.
like the president's
Bad, dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep
So,
yelling over your comment because
I think that's
I don't
how
want
it
to
goes.
start. I want to go home.
I do think it goes bad than dangerous. So like this is where like his attitude comes from. They're kind of establishing that. And I think that's cool. But that's all I have to say about that. I can really dig deep into this, except that those three songs are pretty sick.
No, and I, as the person who picked it, I'm going to be fully honest with you. I don't care to dig deep into it right now because I think we've already touched on everything. That's why I picked it. Is regardless of how it happened, I feel like this album was instrumental in drastically changing so much of culture at the time in so many different ways. And like the Billie Jean thing I saw, sorry, Father Chuck, I'll shut up after this one. But like the Billie Jean video, if you look up the first time he moonwalks and you're waiting for it, watching him sing Billie Jean dancing on a stage, it's funny because Father Chuck already brought this up, but I couldn't help but watch him doing all his, his moves he does, his kicking his leg up in the air, the noises he makes, the kind of like crotch grabbing stuff he does. And I couldn't help but the first thought I thought was, man, remember like when Elvis got in trouble because he swiveled his hips on TV and the world went crazy. Like they would not show Elvis from the waist down because he moved his hips. But the sad thing is, like Father Chuck said, is as you grow up, you realize how much history tells us that Elvis was taking music from these other cultures, putting it out there, making it famous, making it this amazing name for himself without giving any credit to these cultures that he's taking it away from, and specifically and mainly the black culture. So then this Elvis figure who can't even show his waist down on TV for the longest time is then replaced by, and it's funny because they used to call Elvis the King, and then he was replaced. If you look at music history, it was like there was the king and there was nothing compared to the king until the king of pop showed up. And when the king of pop showed up, it was finally a figure taking the music back. And he took that I can swivel my hips and blew away the world with the stuff he would do, literally from the waist down, the way he would move, the way his legs would move, the way my wife and I watched that video and we're like, it's freaky how it literally looks like he weighs nothing. Yeah. Every movement he made was so effortless that it looks like he's filled with helium on a stage. Like he's hooked up to wires or something, because there's no way he can spin and kick and move and sing and yell and all the stuff he's doing without touching the floor. It looks like he's just floating around on it. So I loved that about this too. Is this is like he took the music back and he changed it in a way that the rest of the world then was like, how the crap do we catch up to this? And I feel like this album, with everything from dancing to the music itself to music videos, this album changed all of those areas: dancing, singing, all of it.
Well, I think the thing about Thriller too is, and it's because this is, I'm noticing this as we talk about it, is that in a lot of ways, the album itself is the smallest part of talking about Thriller.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, you know, there was this whole like orbit around it of, you know, like we take it for granted today that, like, if you're going to release a record, you know, well, not so much anymore these days, but, like, you know, back in like the 90s, like if you're going to release an album, right, like you record your singles, and you record your music video, and the music video is going to show up on MTV, and that's what's going to happen before the album comes out. The music video is being used to promote the sale of the album, right? So, like, that was just sort of a given that when you actually made it, you'll be recording a music video and all of that. That didn't really happen prior to Michael Jackson.
No.
He was the first one to use the music video format as a way to promote what he was doing.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, like, the album is almost supplementary to the performance. This is really more a thing that you watch than you listen to.
Oh yeah.
Agreed.
And that really, you know, I mean, I think the Walkman, I've had this little thing going for a long time. I think the Walkman really, really radically changed our relationship with music, because it turned it into this very intimate thing, right? You have your headphones and you listen to it, and it's very individualized. And we moved away from the big performative aspect of music, which is what it was for all of human history, is that music was primarily something you went and you watched someone do. And so, you know, Michael was one of the last people to really, like, capture that, I think, at least on this scale, up until probably, like you said, like Gaga, that, you know, that it wasn't just like the music they're making and that you have to listen to what they're saying. It was more about all the other stuff they're doing. What we call today, like 4-quadrant movie, JP, is that like the term? It's 4-quadrant, so that it's hitting like everything, right? And that
like every demo.
Is. Yeah. And so, I mean, this thing in terms of that, it's just kind of amazing. It does beg this interesting question, JP, considering that when people talk about Thriller, they really, I think, mostly are talking about Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean.
Yeah, I don't like. I think you're right. Yeah.
And so, what's interesting is to think then that, is this really more hype?
Probably.
Like, is this just like is it really all about the hype rather than the product itself?
Well, I mean, ask yourself, would it have been as successful without those music videos? Period.
Right. Probably not.
You know, MTV.
No.
I looked this up last night, and I didn't realize till now that MTV was only like a year old when Thriller came out.
Mm-hmm.
When the music video hit. And so, like, people were, I mean, everyone was watching MTV at the time. And, like, how did MTV start? Like, it was pretty much like a grassroots campaign, right? You called into cable station, I want my MTV. That was like their whole thing.
Right.
And so it was meeting a demand. And so you have all these eyeballs on MTV. And back then, and like, I don't think people understand this about music videos. It's an extremely new art form.
Right. Watch Elvis Costello Pump It Up. Yeah. Like, that's a perfect example of like what an early music video was. It's just them playing in front of in a white room.
They didn't really know like what a music video was supposed to be. and I think they probably thought that about when they were making these for Michael Jackson, because I could just see someone be like, so what, a music video is like what, a musical? It's supposed to be a musical? These are musicals, you know?
My mother actually believed for the longest time that Michael Jackson invented the music video format.
That's funny.
And that was like a common, like there was like sort of a common belief about that. I remember that sort of floating out there, that there really weren't music videos before Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe my mom will correct me when she hears this, but because I mean, if you watch, because the music video format began with in England with the Top of the Pops show, and sometimes they would be like these, they were either just recorded concert clips, or they would get a little creative, because I think like 99 Luftballons predated Thriller, and it had like a little bit of like a cinematic piece to it. But I mean, there's a few things. I mean, obviously the Beatles were doing early music videos.
Yeah, Hard Day's Night and Help.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of it comes. And then you had like forgot the guy's name, but he made the movie Rock and Roll High School with the Ramones, which is basically just Hard Day's Night but with the Ramones.
Oh, right.
So they kind of had it, that cornered as well in the States.
Yeah. No, finish what you're gonna say first.
So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know if they would have had the success it had if it wasn't for the music video format. And the success was, I don't think people really know. Like, it was the number one of the charts for 2 years, which is unheard of at the time. Unprecedented.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But can I say something about Thriller? Because I know we're kind of starting to run out of
The
time.
album or the song?
The song. The music video.
You can. That doesn't mean I won't beat you up after.
I just want to give a quick
it.
review of it, because I feel like I haven't reviewed it, and I feel like this is a perfect time for me. This is my moment. Is it okay?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right.
Make it so.
I love Thriller with all my heart, and I do love the music video version. I prefer the music video version. I don't like listening to it. I have to watch it, and I love the structure of it. I love that it starts off as like a drive-in movie, and then they're in the theater, and then the music starts, and then the dance, the dance macabre, and then it turns into Night of the Living Dead, and then it ends in this credits. I love all that. Also, it was directed by John Landis. We don't have to talk about him either.
Carry on.
But I love it. I think I've always connected with it as like a horror fan as well, because the guy who wrote it, Rod Temperton, he said he wrote it with the knowledge he had in mind that Michael Jackson loves horror movies. He loves scary films. And so I love it. I always listen to it around Halloween time. Like whenever it hit midnight on October, the first day of October, I always press play on the music video and watch it, because it's so, he's talking about all of these like horror movie cliches. They saying like they're out to get you. They're going to try to stop your heart, but he's like so gleeful about the whole thing.
Well, and that's the thing is, I didn't notice it until I listened to it last night, because I never really paid attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
And so last night, listening to it, paying attention to the lyrics, it's him hyping up watching horror movies with a girl he likes.
Yeah.
Because like it's by the third verse when he's he talks about like we'll cuddle close together while watching, because it's killer thriller night. Like that's the night that we're gonna watch horror movies together.
Yeah.
I never caught that. I never caught that that's what it was about.
It is 1,000,000% me trying to explain to my wife, who hates horror movies, will not watch horror movies, and has like horrible dreams if she watches them. So I won't make her. But I've tried to talk her into them before, and I'm like, babe, horror movies were made so that I could hold you and watch them together. So when I get scared, I can bury my face in your lap and hold tight. And when you get scared, you can grab me and hold on. Mm-hmm. And that's what this song is it is 100% him telling her, no, it's not about being scared. It's about the fact that being scared is just another excuse to be together. Yeah. Like it's another excuse for us to get close. It's another excuse for us to just hold on to each other, and another reason to keep going. It's just, and I mean, it's,
and no one ever made a song about that before, which is awesome.
No, it's great. Monster Mash, maybe.
Yeah. And what's funny is, like JP was saying, I got to say this really quick too, though, because you touched on it. What's funny is I cannot hear this song. It almost baffles me to try and contemplate the existence of this song outside of Halloween.
Yeah.
Because around Halloween, this is like this is my go-to theme song for Halloween is Thriller, and the video is perfect. So almost the idea of, wait a minute, there was a whole album called Thriller, and it had other songs on it, and people listen to this like all the time? Makes no sense to me. It's mind-blowing. But anyway, carry on. You're in the middle.
Yeah, and I love like the part of the song where he is just going through the verses, and they're just walking down a foggy street. You know, and I love all the sound effects, the slamming door, and the like, whatever that was. And of course, it just to put the cherry on top of this song for horror fans, a rap from Vincent Price.
Vincent Price,
who my favorite lyrics of all time: darkness crawls across the land, the midnight hour is close at hand. Ghouls in search of blood or whatever to terrorize y'all's neighborhood.
Vincent Price, y'all's.
Didn't Quincy Jones write that?
I think so, maybe.
I read that he wrote it in the cab on the way to the recording session with Price.
He probably did. He probably did. I could see that. But man, Vincent Price. And like I posted it on my Instagram where he was on oh god, what's that woman's name? I forget names when I'm on the show for some reason.
I haven't known who the two of you
Elvira?
are before.
No. The female comedian, legendary female comedian, who was on the red carpet for
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers. On the Joan Rivers show, she had Vincent Price come on, and he did the rap. And he even did the laugh at the end, which is great. So this is, I mean, man, it's just so good.
I will say rap is very usely used word by you, JP.
Well, that's how they call it. That's what they call it.
But it's incredible.
They're rapping like in the sense of like you're having a rapport, you're rapping, you're talking, just like Paul McCartney and Michael do that at the end of God.
Oh, that song.
Can we just talk about the fact that for this album to be as monster huge a thing as it is, there are some duds on this thing.
Did you know that song was the single they released?
Because I like it.
Yeah, because I actually have the single, the vinyl single of Say Say Say.
Oh gosh.
Well, the sad thing is, I would take that as cultural, another picture of culture, and thinking that they needed a Beatle to sell Michael Jackson's album.
Yeah, probably.
When the truth is, who the hell, other than my random, some little tiny thing firing in the back of my mind to remind me that song's even there, who the hell remembers that Paul McCartney's even on this album? Like, who cares about Paul McCartney on this album?
The music video
you don't listen to Thriller. You don't listen to Thriller to even begin to think about Paul McCartney. And
the
I
idea,
love the Beatles. They're my favorite, but that's my point.
The idea
Michael
that the
Jackson just blew it away.
Well, and the idea that the two of them are after the same woman. I mean, who is this woman?
I don't know.
Who is this woman that's like, I'm gonna spend some time with Michael Jackson?
Said I'm her forever lover.
Like, I'm like really into this like mid-20s black man, and also this like 40-something-year-old Englishman.
But the dog.
Linda. I was just talking about Linda. I mean, it's and yeah. I mean, there are some duds. Like, I don't know a single person that's like, I love Lady in My Life.
It's my favorite song.
You don't like Baby Be Mine?
My favorite song I didn't even remember was on this till you just said the title right now.
Another music video acknowledgement. Beat It rules. I
Yes.
love that video, even though the most unrealistic gang in the world, very West Side Story. Even though they did have real gang members, apparently.
His favorite movie. West Side Story is his favorite movie.
Yeah, I love.
Wait. We have to pause for a moment. Just because I have to do something, because there is another artist who has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, a musician who I love literally with like as much of my being as I can. I really should have picked an album from him as my album this time, but
I know you're just saying, yeah.
And in this video is what introduced him to the world in a way that had not really been there before, and his name is Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah. And Eat It is what a He's a genius. Weird Al Yankovic is a genius, and that he could take like this huge music video and he could parody it in such a way that is both loves it and lambasts it. I mean, to this day, like I can't not listen to Eddie Van Halen's guitar solo and not envision the dude exploding at the end.
Yeah. I also love. No, that is great. I watched that last night, and I was like, man, I really do love Weird Al, especially like early Weird Al when he was like a VJ on MTV. But one of my favorite person in the Beat It music video is the one gang leader with the white jacket, who has just
Ascot, even Ascot,
eternally popped collar, who's always looking. Can I just? The entire video.
Yep.
Doesn't move the entire time. I love it. I die laughing whenever that guy because he's just so cool. But it's a great video. I love it, and like I think a lot of the instrumentation in that song really lends itself to the video. Like I love the ringing bells. Like it adds so much attitude and energy to it. So that's my 2 cents on Beat It. Okay, go ahead, Chuck. Good.
I would say just Beat It. I mean, I'm glad you brought it because Beat It is, again, like that's my childhood. Like my earliest memory of my life is me dancing, pumping my arm with a red jacket on to Beat It. I mean, I love the video. I love the song. Listening to it last night, it defies genre. Van Halen's guitar solo is incredible.
Yeah.
Like
face melting. Yeah.
And it's interesting, I guess, too, because I just revisited the Back to the Future trilogy.
Nice.
This past week. And so watching Marty McFly at the end of the first Back to the Future do a Van Halen-esque guitar solo at the end of Johnny Be Good.
Yeah.
And like how people are not prepared for it in a way, right? I mean, because Van Halen wasn't really well known. So that kind of guitar playing was sort of introduced to the mainstream audience through this video, which is kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah. So the big question in the episode for you guys, which jacket is better, the Beat It jacket or the Thriller jacket?
Beat It jacket.
Thriller.
Ooh. We're at odds here.
Thriller.
And the only reason I say the Beat It jacket is because like I dressed up as Michael Jackson specifically from the Beat It video for Halloween when I was like 3 years old.
And the only reason I say Thriller is because I'm right and he's wrong. So
here's the question: which jacket is Michael Jackson wearing in the Doll? The Michael Jackson Doll that came out.
I don't remember.
You don't remember the Michael Jackson Doll?
No.
There was a 12-inch Michael Jackson doll. I had it. That he's in his red jacket. He has like gloves, like a mitten with like sequins on it.
Yeah.
But that was like an iconic toy.
Okay.
And he's in a red jacket. So which red jacket is it? The Thriller jacket or the Beat It jacket?
Was it the?
Because that I think is the ones that.
I think the Thriller jacket is probably more iconic than the Beat It jacket.
I'm gonna try and look it up right now. Do you not know for real, or do you know and you just?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I think
I'm gonna try and find out.
The Thriller jacket seems more iconic because it's a bit more odd than the other jacket. Because the jacket, the Beat It jacket has cooler colors, but the Thriller jacket is like a triangle, like it's with the pads.
Yeah, but it looks like what Eddie Murphy's wearing in his stand-up specials.
Yeah,
but
I like the metal stuff that's on the Beat It jacket.
Yeah,
like rhinestones.
I think it goes good with the glove.
That's good with the glove.
Yeah.
All right, he's in the Thriller jacket. or is that the Eddie Murphy jacket? I think they tried to make.
It's
definitely the
Thriller. It's the Beat It Thriller. But yeah, no, I'm right. You're wrong. Carry on. All joking aside, though, even somebody who's seen it liked it. I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying. I have to think and try and go, wait, what was the jacket he's wearing in Beat It? But nobody has to stop and think, what jacket was he wearing in Thriller? Like you see somebody else put it on, you're like, oh, hey, that's the jacket from Thriller. So that's honestly the reason I said it. It's so bizarre. In real life, would I wear the jacket? No. Absolutely not. And that's exactly why that was
The real
his favorite.
here's the,
That is
let me
his
give you
best one.
let me give you
Best
the real
one,
answer.
hands down.
The real answer to JP's question is the jacket that he wore to meet George W. Bush, the one that had like the military fringe on the
Yeah.
shoulders, so he looked like a dictator. His Muammar Gaddafi jacket,
Wait, wasn't that Reagan?
whichever one. I don't know.
It's like a
both.
Some
a
Republican,
Sergeant
yeah.
Pepper.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty cool outfit. I remember thinking when I was a kid, thinking like, did he get promoted to general or something?
He looked like, but with the glasses, he looked like he was from V.
Yeah, he could be a lizard person. We don't know that. We don't know.
Well,
Truth is out there.
well, JP, as the person who picked the album,
Yeah.
can I release you, the poor moderator who has to talk about this album, and say that we could do final thoughts? Because I think we covered every reason I wanted to do this album.
Sounds good to
And
me. Well,
I don't think we need to go song by song.
You haven't gotten to your thoughts on. I didn't even get that far in my notes, guys.
You couldn't even pretend to make something up.
I was going to use one of the last
you couldn't even
ballads.
pick a song at the end just to pretend that you tried.
I didn't even get that
my
far. I went to bed.
Feelings are hurt.
Like I have everything I can say about Thriller, Beat It, and Billie Jean. Well, I didn't talk much about Billie Jean, but that's okay. We've talked. Yeah,
Light Up Sidewalk.
No, to me, Billie Jean
I
was
loved
all
that when I was
about
a
the.
kid.
To me, Billie Jean is. I mean, the song's great, all that good stuff, but the Billie Jean was all about what happened on stage when he performed it.
Yeah,
He
Well, and
changed the
Brandon
world.
Howard.
He changed the world with the moonwalk thing. But
Terminator
no,
Salvation. Watch that movie for.
The existence of Brandon Howard, music producer.
But anyway,
Turns out
JP,
probably
I'll
was
release
my.
you.
The kid is your son, Michael Jackson. The kid is your son.
A kid is not my son. But JP, I'll release you. So I'll say
Okay.
Father Chuck can give his final thoughts, and then JP, and then I will, and you can close us out.
Sure,
we
go
can be
ahead.
done,
Go ahead.
and you don't have to make stuff up.
Go for it.
So Father Chuck, your final thoughts on Thriller, if you have any, if you haven't already said them.
I mean, I kind of have said everything I need to say about Thriller.
If you just want to remind the world that I'm right about which jacket is better, you can use this as your opportunity to.
I will agree that the Thriller jacket is more iconic.
Okay,
But I
I'll
think
take
the
it.
beat-
Stop there. Nope. Stop there. I'll take it. Let's end on an agreeing term. We don't have to argue about who's right and who's wrong. We both agree it was iconic. Yours could be better. Let's
Thriller
leave it
jacket is
there.
Calvinism. That's all I'm going to say.
Stop freaking talking. I told you to shut your mouth right there before. JP, what's your final thoughts? Because I'm done with him. What did you think? That's cool. Thanks.
I think
No, carry on.
if I ever have to listen to "The Girl Is Mine" again, I'll probably kill myself.
That doggone girl is mine.
Hey.
God, that's
Hey,
a bad lyric. That's a bad lyric.
It's so
the result of that song.
so bad.
Can we just take a moment real quick to appreciate the fact that the result of that song was that Michael Jackson screwed Paul McCartney over out of the ownership of the Beatles' music.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty funny. That's
Oh,
Doggone
man.
Girl Is Mine. Yeah, but your entire song catalog is.
doggone sound catalog is fine.
Mine.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm going to come together in a Nike commercial just to spite.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
All right. Cool. Thanks. Well, let me say this, and then JP can figure out how to wrap this up in a way. Because I really did, like I said, when we started, I was honest. I said, look, I want to talk about the album. I love the album. But if you really ask me, what do you think about the songs and stuff today? They're all right. It's fun. It's a fun listen. But the impact it had on me, much less on music, was so big that I was like, oh, this is the album I got to talk about. So it kind of perfectly fit that this week, and this is an analogy I've used before, but I think it fits perfectly here. So follow me for a second, then I'll let JP close us out. Heather and I got on a kick where I brought up a movie one night. We were talking, and I said something. I was like, oh, like 16 Candles. And Heather said, oh, I never saw it. I was like, you haven't seen 16 Candles? And she's like, no. I said, what about Say Anything? No. What about Pretty in Pink? No. Oh my gosh. Our movies are decided all week. So we watched Pretty in Pink, Say Anything, 16 Candles. We watched Can't Hardly Wait for our 90s touch. And at the end of them, I asked Heather, so what did you think? She's like, they were fun. I really liked them, but I felt like they're kind of slow. I said, but babe, here's what I want you to realize. And she agrees with this because she's like, I liked them, but they felt a little slow. I was like, but if those movies didn't exist, everything we've seen since then wouldn't have been influenced the way it was. So you've seen everything else. All the, like, her favorite movie is like Just Married, or what's the other one? What Happens in Vegas, or like two of her favorite older comedies from back in the day. But there's like, I would argue without 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, you don't get things like The Other Half of It, or The Other Half, which is an incredible movie on Netflix right now. And people who have seen it are going, absolutely. And you two losers who have not listened to me and watched it yet will catch up someday. I haven't read that comment that was coming through on my phone, and I'm not going to. But bottom line is, those movies might not be the most exciting thing you've seen now, but kind of like The Matrix is to action movies. If you've seen everything since then, the problem is, if you never saw The Matrix first, you've seen The Matrix because you've seen it in every movie after. If you saw Sonic the Hedgehog, when he gets in a fight and he starts running,
We're still talking about Sonic.
And everything around him slows down.
Didn't we talk about this on like the first episode of Music Mayhem? Sorry.
The end. No thriller. Life sucks. The end. We needed it. It was there. You guys won. You beat me. What do you want from me?
No, we say Sonic the Hedgehog. He did the thing. He ran. It
Shut
wasn't slow. They did the bullet time.
Talking. I don't want to hear anything. I want to say right now, Chuck's mom, you're out there listening.
No, be careful now.
Can you encourage? Just send a message encouraging me and let me know that your son's being a jerk to me right now and he's hurting my feelings. Could you lecture him for me, please, on a public forum so I can laugh at him and poke fingers? Not that I would, because that's mean. But he hurt my feelings right now, and I'm gonna go cry in a corner.
I mean, maybe if you recorded with us when we talked about the Matrix,
I'm gonna go back to occasional Matt, because.
Well,
hold on. I'm just gonna stare off like the guy in the video. Go ahead.
Okay. Well,
close this out.
You know, is that it? Is that? I mean, are you really done? Do you have any last? I mean. Oh
yeah, I'm done. Okay. Well, I mean, what am I gonna say after that?
I'm
just gonna cry.
Well, and I also just want to point out real quick. I think, aside from Michael Jackson, the other kind of standout in the album is Quincy Jones. With just sort of the legendary production value and instrumentals that he put into this music. Just as much iconic as Michael's voice and dance. So that's just my 2 cents. So, okay, well, there you have it, folks. Thriller by Michael Jackson. Thank you so much for selecting that, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for nothing.
It was thrilling.
Aha.
Oh yeah. You make fun of me, but then you get away with that on our podcast. It's fine. Carry on. Go ahead.
You know I love you, and you know you love me.
Yeah. Haven't we said that before? Like it means anything, apparently.
You know what?
Ahead, carry on.
Your guys' relationship reminds me of a relationship between Sonic the Hedgehog and James Marsden.
All right.
In the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
If I right now turn our podcast rated R by what I want to say to you at this moment, my parents would be horribly ashamed of me. So could you please wrap it up? Because I want to reach through our fun little video here
It's like
and
Chuck is
strangle
being
you in your
Chuck
Sonic
is being
Hedgehog
Chuck is
comment.
being Sonic, Matt is being James Marsden. It's beautiful. That was the last
like
movie I
James
saw
Marsden.
in movie theaters, by the way, guys.
James
I'm sad.
Marsden is beautiful.
Your knuckles. Okay, so
Tails. It's tails.
Tails, whatever. I don't care. Yeah, who cares about these cartoons? All right, so that was
James Marsden is Cyclops, so thank you.
He's
I
also
knew you would like that.
Compliment.
he's also in Disturbing Behavior, which is a pretty good movie.
It actually is a good movie. So continue to compliment me in your insults, JP. Just
He's
prove
also
to the world
second
that I'm
Noah.
better than you.
You know, I've been listening
He's
to.
also wait. He's also what?
Second Noah. He was on the show Second Noah.
I didn't
What?
see it. Carry on.
I put. Speaking of disturbing behavior, I put Flagpole Sitta as my ringtone for my phone.
Oh gosh.
So whenever someone calls me, it goes.
I'm absolutely gonna have to see if I can watch that movie tonight. What's it available on?
I don't know.
I gotta watch it tonight. I gotta watch Disturbing Behavior now.
Cool. All right. So
And that song and Red Right Hand from Scream.
Scream.
Sorry, carry on.
Okay, that was Thriller by Michael Jackson, and that's pretty much it for Music Mayhem. We have one more episode left. One more, please. Continue to take this journey with us. We're going to do our I guess sort of an epilogus episode. Is that a word? Epilogus?
No.
Epilogical? I don't know. Join us next week as we spin the wheel of mayhem and we let fate decide what album we listen to.
It will
Figure
either
it
be
out.
Pearl Jam or Counting Crows.
There is a 40% chance that it could be the Shags.
Dave Matthews.
If I were an evil genius, I'm not gonna lie. If I were an evil genius, I would be like working really hard behind the scenes to have Patrick and Matt, like all of us, collaborate on finding music that's just gonna annoy JP, so we can like imagine if all the choices
Yeah.
were like
That,
Pearl Jam, Counting Crows, Dave
Oh
Matthews.
my God, John Mayer.
that's like the meanest thing I've ever heard and a horrible idea.
Mraz.
And Chuck stay on after he hangs up. But I think it's awful. Why would you say such a thing? But it's fine. No, I'm gonna rig it so that when you spin the dumb wheel, the only album that shows up is Thriller, so we can talk about it again. So you can all
No.
can mock me about saying what I've already said before.
What you should do, Matt, is you should put 30 Seconds to Mars on again.
Absolutely. Done.
Same album.
And then
Same album.
don't show up again for the next episode.
Absolutely.
We were like, why did
That
Matt
was
pick this
fun.
album? We don't know.
By the way,
Exact
a
same
classic that I picked the album and couldn't be on the episode. But carry on. It's fine.
Okay. All right. So join us at the Wheel of Mayhem next week. Thank you so much for listening. And I want to thank Father Chuck and the occasional Matt for everything. Just for everything. And also, Father Fun will be with us next time. He, like I said, he's still listening to You Want to Be Starting Something, so he couldn't really make it.
Father Fun, come back. I need somebody nice. I'm done with these two. I don't want to talk to them anymore.
All right. Okay. So, it's the last episode of Music Mayhem. And as is tradition, started last year, we end on the Wheel of Mayhem. Now, if you're not familiar, the Wheel of Mayhem, what happens is I ask each of the Masters of Divinity to submit 2 albums. One good album and one bad album. And then we put the albums on a wheel, which is this little app thing called Wheel Decide. And then we spin it and we let fate decide what the last album we will listen to be for Music Mayhem. So, before I do that, I'm just going to read off what the titles are, and then we're going to give it a spin, and then we'll see. It's either going to be an album that rules or an album that sucks. We'll see. So, the choices are Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, Teenage Dream by Katy Perry, Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, Philosophy of the World by the Shags. Who chose that? Jesus Freak by DC Talk. To Hell with the Devil by Stryper. August and Everything After by The Counting Crows. Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. And then I have a spin again slot just to, just to create a little bit of tension. So, all right, I have not done a pre-spin. I have not done any kind of spin. I've entered these albums into the wheel, and I am spinning them right now. So there has been no trickery involved. Okay, here we go. The album is Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. Oh no. Oh no. Well, okay. So we'll be ending this year's Music Mayhem with Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. Everybody go out and listen to that album and come back and we'll listen to it on the episode. Or not on the episode. We'll listen to it. We'll come back and we'll talk extensively about Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. Good journey.